Any adventures?
Yeah, I was like stealing. It feels stupid saying this when you ask me that question. Yeah, I was stealing some sort of artificially intelligent police car, barreling down the highway, crashing into cars, moving into a service road that was somehow suspended by rusted steel on the side of this giant suspension bridge highway, and then we were swinging by cables from, like, you know, because the police car got busted up because we were running into the side of the service road so much. So we were swinging by cables like some sort of urban Tarzan.
So like the jungle.
Yeah,
But
the
in-
concrete jungle type dealing. And I don't really remember what happened after that.
I went to lunch.
Yeah.
That was an adventure.
Right.
The Mexican streets.
Yeah.
Like, you just never know what you're gonna. You got to stay vigilant.
Yeah.
Like I'm always looking over my shoulder. I don't know why. Normally I'm not, but today I just felt like I needed to keep an eye out.
No, Guadalajara is pretty safe. Well, the first time I went to Mexico City, I remember I was on the metro, and I must have taken the metro like 5 or 10 times during the 3 or 4 days I was in there. And one specific time I walked on and I got this weird feeling. I'm like, somebody is watching me a little too much, but I don't know who it is. But I kind of positioned myself in a way that I knew the people behind me didn't look suspicious at all. So I could keep an eye on everything around me, and it all worked out fine. Nothing happened.
Tingling of the spider sense.
Yeah, a little spidey sense happened.
I think it's important to have that, to trust when you get these like nigglings of there's something not cool here. It's a similar sort of thing. You're sitting on the subway and you see a guy, two guys,
Yeah.
3 guys or whatever. They one walks up that way and stands down that end. One walks to the other end. And you're like, oh shit. Like
There might be undercover cops.
could have been keeping an eye out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Combos.
They
You don't use that word here. Combos. Combos, like gang members who are meant to look over a community. That's a word they use in Colombia.
never heard of it.
Okay, because every or a lot of neighborhoods in Medellin need a little protection, I guess. So it's like a sort of a neighborhood watch, except it's set up by the gangs.
No, I've never heard of it. I mean, I'm sure it happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I think all businesses get offered protection. And of course, there's a fee. It's business time.
Yeah, I don't know how it works, if they charge a protection racket, or they're just there to make sure the wrong people don't deal on their turf or something like that. Yeah, I remember one time when I was on the train, like the Hunter line, and going to Newcastle or coming back from Newcastle. I was with my buddy Luke, and we noticed something was going on in the front cabin, and we're like, let's get on the next carriage, and so we just smoothly moved right through. What we saw later was this guy going crazy. He was yelling at people and running through the carriage back and forth and trying to evade the rail cops and all this kind of crazy stuff. And Luke was like, I'm glad that happened the way it did. He said, 2 or 3 years ago, I would have got on that first carriage and I would have got into a fight with that guy. And I said, this is practical self-defense. You can completely avoid the situation.
That's the best way.
Yeah.
It's human evolution. Avoid that kind of...
Yep.
I don't know why people... I think I went through a phase like that too. You know,
Looking for fights.
Well, not looking for fights, but not avoiding them. Like, you know, you're the biggest, toughest guy out, when really, at that point, I wouldn't have known how to defend myself. I probably wouldn't have.
You probably
involved
looked the
myself.
part, though.
Well, that's step one.
Well, looking the part is, it's an effective deterrent.
In all cases.
Have you ever had, like, in work as a security guard and stuff, do people deliberately try to mess with you because they know you're tough?
No. I've never had any issue.
All right. Okay.
In the 2
I guess you
years
give
that I
off
was
the
working.
right vibe.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's a couple, there's probably a handful of situations where nah, you know what? Nah, I wouldn't even call it that. I'll just call it guys that have been, you know, done a month of training done a month trial at their local boxing gym and,
Yep.
you know, would like to show you what they've learned.
Right.
But I mean, there's no aggressiveness in there, so, you know, there's no reason to. I mean, neither of, well, I mean, if you don't present people staunch, then that behaviour's not coming back.
Yeah.
So
it's like this go with the flow. Like I think you mentioned to me once, people come in and sometimes they're like they might be trying to prove something yet, and they come up to you and they're like, "Yeah, what's up?" And you're like, "Welcome, bar's over there. Have a drink. You know, make yourselves comfortable."
you kind of you pick your, I mean, you feel their vibe before they come in. And if you see if they're joking with their mates, you know, around the up the street, around the corner, and all of a sudden they want to get in your face. I mean, of course, you know, you got to. It's not a matter of saying, you know, hey, what's going on? Usually you pick on one of the friends and go, you know, sorry, our dress code or something, and you know, you need to have fully enclosed shoes, or there's no joggers allowed. And because the guy that's probably wearing the joggers is probably one that's been roped into driving everybody there, and it's all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, you know, we left Greg outside again, and then they usually come out and leave and go somewhere else.
Right.
But it's about not picking on the person that you think wants to start a fight.
Ah, okay.
Or if there's a few people that look a little bit tipsy, then you know, you won't let the person, or you'd say if someone looks drunk that you know they haven't been drinking, but you know they're not going to put up a front. They could just be tired or something.
Yeah.
And you just pick on them that way, and their friends will leave and go somewhere else because you've left a couple guys outside. But you've already picked the guys that aren't going to start a fight. The other ones, you just kind of let them go their natural flow.
But like, you can decline them entry for any reason. You don't even have to give them a reason. You can just say, sorry, buddy. But I guess that's gonna make them a bit more angry. And
yeah, you don't want to fire people up. Not like that. I mean, yeah, usually you try and avoid it.
Yeah.
No, but it wasn't. I never really had any big issues like that. But then again, you know, I was at some of the real low key, like easy cruising sort of venues. There wasn't really any. I never had to really deal with anyone really heavy or anything like that. But lucky for me, that's good. I'm sure there's not very many other guards that have that experience.
Yeah. Not that many that can tread that careful path.
I wouldn't do security here in Mexico.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it. No.
I think it might be easier here than in Sydney.
Yeah.
You ever heard of people getting glassed in Guadalajara?
No, I think the reason why I wouldn't is because for like drive-by shootings.
Okay.
That's pretty why I wouldn't want to be anywhere near or at the front of a bar.
Okay.
You've never heard of that happening?
No.
Well, where I used to live, there was a sushi bar.
Right.
Got just drive by and just machine gun the whole thing. It doesn't matter who's eating there.
Okay, but it was some kind of gang thing, like the.
Well, someone must
like
have been
the
there.
Yakuza trying to move in on the turf. Or
No, I think someone was just eating there that. Yeah, I'm assuming that someone was there that someone had a hit on.
Right.
And it was just easy to drive past and just shoot that general area. But this was only like maybe 4 months ago.
Okay. Wow.
I think a lot of these things happen, and they don't really make the news.
For sure. Yeah.
There was a suburb not far from where I'm living now, that there was a group of kids went to rob a 7-Eleven, and then not far from there was like a corner store that was getting robbed at the same time. And I don't know which group was, but someone pulled a gun out and the police just shot him. This was 3 days ago.
Wow. Okay.
But you just don't hear about it.
Yeah.
far from that shop was robbed the other day. I actually went back over there. I was sent to water some plants.
Right.
Anyone in a relationship would know there's things you got to do, or there's just jobs that fall into your to-do list, and you're like, I'm not keen. I don't want to do this.
Uh-huh.
I think it's part of being a good husband, knowing what I need to do and what I don't.
Uh-huh.
So watering the plants for watering your mother-in-law's garden is something that I couldn't get out of. And I tried getting out of it. I tried putting it off. I just couldn't do it. Mainly because I knew it was a 1-hour bus ride. Nobody wants to do a 1-hour bus ride during the middle of the day in Mexico.
Yeah.
It's hot. They're crowded. I went out and I fell asleep on the bus, and I woke up like one stop out from where I was meant to get off. So it wasn't even that painful.
Oh, right.
So it's like the whole time, here I am manifesting this big negative. I don't want to do it. And then it was like so easy to get there. I'm wandering down the street. Birds are chirping, everything's nice. There wasn't any people on the bus. It was a cool ride. So I walk into the house and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm tired. And I lie down for like 10 minutes on the couch and thought, all right, trying to pull together the strength to water this garden. It's not even really a garden. It's just like a series of maybe 30 pots arranged of like random cactuses. And we spoke a while about Mexican gardens and how it's a very interesting type of garden. It's just there's no natural order to the plants, and it doesn't look like any plant that can't go a couple of weeks without water seems to die, and you're just left with an arrangement of cactuses. So I got to water the garden, and I'm putting together the energy to get out and water the garden. I walk out the front, and I can hear this like a whistle, like a hey, come over here whistle, and it kept going like 3 or 4 times. So I walk out the front, and I can see that one of the neighbors is like waving to me across the road. I walk over because it's Mexico is a lovely place, and you gotta say hello to everybody. Mm-hmm. So I wave out, and they wave me over. Before I knew it, I've climbed the bars on the front window of the house across the road, and I'm up on the roof, and here I am smoking a joint with a neighbor. This is where the story gets good.
Yeah.
And I don't. I mean, that's not something that I do. So I just kind of went with the flow, and it was hot, and I thought, okay, all right. And we sat down. We finished the whole joint. It was actually really good because I've had a little back pain, like in my top shoulder here. It was now that I'm back at the gym, so it's like took that all away. Here I am feeling 15 years old again. So I'm on the roof and I'm looking out, and I realise that I didn't actually shut the gate properly. So even though it's not open, the gate's not locked. And so in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I left my laptop on the table. The house is left open. And I turned to this dude that's next to me, and I'm like, you mind if I just pop down and lock the house up and then come back up? Well, he looked at me and said, with the coolest composure, and he said, no te preocupes, aquí yo mando todo. Which is like, don't worry about it, man. I look after everything here. I thought, okay, well, in that case, cool. He's got it. Meanwhile, it's like I'm on the roof. I can see the house, so it's like there's no issue. But just in that moment, of I'm getting relaxed, and I didn't even, when he said don't worry about it, it was like the words had more thickness, more knowledge more information in the conversation, and I started to receive. In that moment, he said don't worry about it. I realized robbers don't exist.
You're going to have to clarify that. What do you mean a thief doesn't exist? I mean, I've stolen things. What do you mean?
Well, I mean that they don't look like the burglary man from McDonald's with the black and white stripes and all that. Like I could see how things happen.
Yeah.
It was like all of a sudden I had knowledge on. Well, there's a whole level of just like culture that I had whole knowledge on. And firstly, it was the fact that nothing was going to happen. Like I just knew that reality wasn't part of what was going to happen in that moment. I knew that no one's going to break into the house and steal anything. I knew that if something does get stolen, or when something happens in a negative way, it's purely what do we call it? Opportunistic.
Yeah, a crime of opportunity.
And I was surprised that you were able to articulate that to me so well. When I said that I just woke up and realized all this information, you're like, oh, you mean like, yeah, it's just the average, the average plumber would
I
do it.
remember this stuff, something like years ago, I would be at the pool or at the beach. I left my wallet to the side of my shoes, and my friend was like, put your wallet inside your shoes. I'm like, come on, what difference does it really make? And that's the difference between having something in plain sight or the difference between someone rifling through your sweaty socks to try to find your wallet. It's a big difference.
Yeah, massive difference. And it wasn't that I just realized, it was that I just could see the situations. I understood through example of why people would steal something. I thought for my laptop to be stolen, somebody would have to have seen it through the window, be walking past, see the doors open, and then all of a sudden it just came to me, you know, like I imagine like a plumber or a painter or someone that, you know, doesn't get paid very well.
Yeah.
Just came from from finishing a hard day's work,
Yeah.
got paid.
Late on the mortgage.
Los Reyes Magos. I'm thinking like he's got to deliver like gifts to his kids the next day. Like,
Right.
he might have only made 200 pesos that day, which is like double and a quarter what the minimum wage is, $20. Like that's not enough money. So, I mean, that wasn't going to happen, but I could see the opportunity of what it would take for someone to do that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we're just sitting down, like just chilling. all these, it was just insane. These visions. It was like I was dreaming, and I could see things happen before my eyes in a second, like in a split moment. But it was like I didn't even leave the situation. So at that point, I can hear the beep beep. The water truck turned up, like the the truck with all the garrafones de agua. Turned up, and he's like, "Oh, you got to head down. Got to sort this guy out." So, I mean, you know, they got water delivered to their house. I thought, okay, in this moment, I'm going to go water. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm going to water the plants before I forget, because the sun's going down. I'm going to end up smoking another joint, hanging up here on the roof, and I'm not going to do what I'm supposed to be doing. So I race over home. Everything's cool. Lock the front door. I work out the series of taps. There's like 3 taps to get the water to turn on. The outside main tap.
This is like you're playing Mist or something.
I was in
align all the clocks.
I was in a game show. It's like
Oh, the price is right.
Yeah, it's like I gotta get all the. It was so insane. It was like, wait a minute. Okay, if I was anywhere else, I'd just turn the tap on and water the plants. But no, first tap, no water. Okay, let's go again. Second tap on, first tap off. Wait a minute, no. And then I'm trying to work it out. Like and I thought, screw it, all taps on. All taps are on. I got water going everywhere, and I'm like, it's cool, business. I'm watering the garden. Anyway, it was more annoying trying to work out what taps to keep on and what taps to keep off. I just turned them all off and thought someone else can deal with this. It's too hard for me. So I'm watering the garden, and I realized that the whole garden was like perfect. Like, even though there was like a couple dead plants, there was a couple little cactuses called big cactuses, an arrangement of pineapple plants. Because when I was crashing there, I liked making fruit juices to keep healthy, keep your stomach right. It's like a good bacteria in your stomach.
Right.
Anyway, so I like to drink a lot of fresh. I like to make up my own juices, and I started putting pineapple in my juices because it's just drinking like straight garlic beetroot juice. You just can't do that all week. It's too strong. So I started putting some sweet pineapple in there. That was all good, except I felt bad at throwing the pineapple part out because it just looked cool.
Yeah.
So I started planting them. Within a week, I had like 10. No, it wasn't within a week. It was within a few months. I had 10 plants, pineapple plants, which are all growing. Like they just started growing. It's like, who would have thought? Just cut the pineapple top off, put it in the dirt, put some water on it, and it'll start growing. So that's why I've got like all these pineapple plants at the front of my house. Memories.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I'm watering all these plants, and in that I had this vision of like, because I realized it's not the fact that I needed to water the garden or to water the plants. It wasn't that I was sent to do it. It was that my mother-in-law has to come home. I mean, this is holiday season, so she's been out. She doesn't want to see the plants dry in the first place. So it's not about me even watering them. It's the fact that I had to remove that job from her to-do list. So, with my understanding of of like service to others. You got to do whatever you can to help out the whole world. In this case, my world is my relationship with my mother-in-law. So I was like, keep the ground moist. So she needs to come home and not see that being watered, but see that she doesn't need to water them.
Yeah.
That was like the higher level consciousness working out. It's not about that. It's like longer term. Yeah. So then all of a sudden I'm cleaning the garden, I'm sweeping the path, I'm doing all sorts of, like it's about, wait a minute, she needs to come home to a presentable garden. Like I'm like the man of the house. So I started feeling like super Captain Planet. So, here I am, I'm weeding the garden, I'm watering, I'm moving the pots around, I'm reorganizing stuff. There's a couple caguamas. You know the big bottle of, like the big liter bottle of beer.
Oh, okay.
There's a couple of those
like
that...
long necks.
Yeah, a couple long necks.
Yeah.
That's what they're called.
Once upon a time we had that name.
I just completely forgot. Well, look, here we recycle the bottles, the caguamas.
Yeah,
so
because you get when you take them back to 7-Eleven, they give you a discount off the next beer.
Yeah, so instead of paying full price, you get like the return in the bottle price.
Yeah.
So I realized, there's kind of a prestige in bringing back a clean bottle rather than this dirty, sandy, spider-filled bottle. So I'm washing the bottles because I want the experience, not for me, but for the person who's got to take the bottles back, and for the person at the counter. Like I don't know, my mind just opened up, and I could see like everything I touched. I could see the higher purpose, the long-term view. Like I was washing the bottle for the guy that delivered the bottle, for the guy that needed to receive the bottle, and just for the pride of having a clean bottle. Like it's nice having your garden with a couple caguamas there that are nice and clean. It's like a feature piece of a Mexican garden.
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I'm washing the bottles, back to water in the garden, and in the motion, I realized it's not about watering the plant. I had to like get the whole ground wet. Like I wanted at least 2 inches of wetness on all the sand and all the dirt in his little garden.
But isn't there a risk of drowning the plant?
Well, they look pretty dry.
Okay.
So I thought, as long as it looks all like even wet,
yeah,
I thought I'd do that. And in the process of watering this garden, I had this vision of like spray painting a car, and it occurred to me that maybe, because I don't know why Mexicans are associated with like doing cars up and like spray painting. I know a couple of my uncles spray paint.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a maybe it's like a.
But they do it just as a part of doing up cars. You're not talking about like painting like crazy things on it, like wicked campers or something like that.
Some people do, but they just fix cars. Like they got their little business doing that. But then I started thinking of like West Coast customs and how it's like usually the Mexican guy that's in there spray painting. So it occurred to me that maybe Mexicans are good at spray painting cars because of their generations of water in the garden. Or water in little gardens. Like it just came to me. Like I could spray paint a car. Like now I've got that knowledge just instilled in me for no reason. I was like getting punched in the face with like bombs of knowledge. Of like this is why, and that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense at all. But in that little reality, I was having the time of my life watering these gardens, imagining painting like Cadillacs and some Impalas and. Like a nice Bel Air or something. So here I am, like just daydreaming of cars, and it occurred to me that maybe like a daydream is that different to like a nighttime dream, in that within like a moment of a second, you could span a whole half an hour of dream time, and then just come snap back, and it's like it doesn't have the same power. But I think what's the difference between a daydream and dreaming at night? The fact that you think it doesn't count?
Which one doesn't count?
Well, for me, it was like a vision.
Uh-huh.
And it's like we have a dream. It's like you can't class that as a vision. It's like you had a dream. But I think they're the same thing.
It's kind of accepted in just about every culture in the world that visions are normal, that visions happen, that people have visions, but not in the Western English-speaking world. That's like the only place that doesn't really accept it.
Why? Why? I mean, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But why is it so black and white.
Why is it so taboo?
Well, why is it deemed like, lazy creativity, sort of just a waste of talent when someone's in the classroom daydreaming?
That's a whole deep cultural issue, because there are things about materialist science, like the assumption is that things like engineering are generally important, but being creative isn't as important.
Right now I'm thinking of like the average kid in the classroom.
Yeah.
And I know that I felt like I was picked on as a kid for daydreaming. But I'm like, maybe if I only had the knowledge, or I was only able to step up to the teacher and say, hey, hold up. I'm not daydreaming. I'm not lazy. I'm not an idiot.
Yeah.
But I'm channeling serious visions right now of my culture. Like, and I'm just some kid in school.
Yeah. What are you, racist?
It's like, come on.
Yeah.
Like,
I think I think you've gone on to something big there about the school, because the school system has its basis in this Prussian military system, or the Jesuits, this indoctrination system, but also more recently the industrial system. They're preparing kids to be in a factory, and you can't daydream if you work in a factory.
no, you lose an arm.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're being prepared to work in a factory, no, daydreaming, they're not about it. But I think there's also something about mental illness, because there's a big taboo about mental illness in Western cultures.
This is big.
Yeah. I don't think that really exists in Mexico. Like, if you to tell someone you had a vision, or you had this strange experience, something out of the ordinary, they'll be like, that's very
They go and
interesting.
make popcorn and go, hey, don't tell me, I want to get comfortable.
Yeah, or they might analyze it like they would analyze a dream. They say that, maybe this is a blessing, or you're straying down the wrong path, or something like that. They interpret it in a totally different way.
Yeah, it was that idea of interpretation. I was watching a video on YouTube about people that suffer like Kundalini awakenings.
Yeah.
And
Let's take a break real quick. Kundalini awakenings.
yeah, it was about Indian culture. I think it was about Kundalini awakenings.
Yeah.
But it was just about people having like these energy awakening episodes, or don't. And the response is like, don't worry about him. He'll be right in like 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
And the family just accept like this, what appears to be like complete mental shutdown, or
going completely wacky, seeing things, hearing things, saying that they're talking with spirits, or some stuff like this.
But that seems weird to me, having like a culture that accepts that people can go in and out of these phases, and that it's completely normal to them.
Yeah. I read an article about it where there was a case. The family was from the UK, or maybe from the United States, and their child was about 14 or 15 years old, and he started having all these strange things, having these strange mental experiences, and maybe he was hearing voices, or something like this. It seems very far out.
It's often spiritual, supernatural, sort of like out of this world stuff.
Yeah, beliefs in the supernatural, or beliefs that paranormal things are happening to them, spirits are affecting them, demons attacking them, crazy stuff.
What are kids with like imaginary friends?
Yeah, that could be a part of it too, but that's like a different phase. But in this article, the family decided that they weren't going to take regular psychiatric advice. They wanted a completely different opinion, an opinion that didn't have all the cultural assumptions about mental illness. So they decided to take a trip to Africa, and they visited some shamans, and the shamans were like, "Oh yes, this your child is becoming a healer." So his mind is opening. He's like a bud turning into a flower. That's what's happening, and this is something beautiful. It's not an illness. It's a transitional phase.
This is happening more often too.
Yeah.
Like this isn't. I don't think this sounds weird anymore. But I'm thinking even like maybe 5 years ago, it's completely off the chart. Like I would never even imagined. But now I think people. Well, I don't know. Maybe just the weirdos I hang out with.
Yeah.
It just seems. Well, I mean, maybe it's here in Mexico. It seems more common.
Yeah.
Like you go to the Zocalo in Mexico City, you're going to see like shamans in every corner, you know, hitting people with like reeds and sticks and things and putting smoke on them. I went and saw a shaman only 2 weeks ago. I'm going to go see him this weekend again. He's like, he does magnet work. I was like, magnets, how does that fix your body? I don't know, but maybe you can look at my knee.
Yeah. Just up here, like a few blocks away, there's a magician, a wizard or something, and he has this huge
Hat.
yeah, he has a huge sigil, like a magical symbol on the front, and I assume it's some sort of protection charm for his building there, and it's like he's printed it out as a poster and put it out at the front of his shop.
Yeah, this whole world seems weird to like a traditional perspective, and I'm talking traditional like my own point of view of just growing up in Australia. It's like I've got two views on the world. And it's like you need to draw from a bank of trust. Like growing up in Australia with my Australian government education, I have this skewed view of reality and life.
Yeah.
And then I've travelled quite a bit. So, you know, I've met many random friends that have given me like another bank of knowledge and trust. And, you know, these
just
were cool.
like they chip off a little piece of their world. And
Yeah, they talk about their experiences. And I think, well, you know, that doesn't sound that weird anymore.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty normal to them. And they seem cool and all right.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like that slowly changes. And then the more I live with my Mexican family and here in the community here in Guadalajara, it's like totally different views on everything: education, family life, on lifestyles, on medicines, on everything. Everything changes. So you know, I'm pretty open-minded now, and I'm happy to listen to anyone's story about anything crazy like that. Just talking about that, I'm just thinking I've got 2 dream catchers in my house. Like that doesn't seem like the Australian Aaron would have had that in his room.
You
Dream
weren't
catchers.
a hippie a few years ago.
Does that make me a hippie? I've got dream catchers. I just like.
No, it makes you more Native American.
Well, it's all one planet, really, isn't it? Unless we go inside.
And you're on your mother's side, you like have Mayan background, or do you know? Like your great grandparents?
I can't remember the actual name of the tribe.
Okay.
But my grandfather's he's native Oaxacan Indian.
Right.
So from like Oaxaca, the state.
Yeah.
But he's got his town and family and they, as far as I know, I've never been to visit like my grandfather's family. Very few of my family have actually been out to Oaxaca to see like where my grandfather was born, because they say they're all like witches and shamans and all that kind of thing,
right?
Which is taboo.
And you have that whole story about your grandfather. It's almost like a Hebrew myth or something.
It's insane.
Yeah, I guess we'll get into
it. I need to do research, ask questions, and write the book.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really heavy.
Yeah.
To think that they actually, that my grandfather was supposed to be sacrificed. Can you imagine that? I wouldn't be here if his father didn't like put him in a basket with reeds and and send him down the river.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like God's blood, right?
We'll talk about that another time, because I'd love to hear that story. I'm sure
I would
there are
like
a lot
to
of
know
people
it.
would love to hear that story.
Yeah, I like to complete the story. Yeah, so visions. The idea of getting visions just in your everyday activity and understanding that, you know, these visions are like, well, is it your creativity producing knowledge, or it's just like you can't control it. You just get like flashes of knowledge, or hey, I got an idea.
Yeah, like sometimes when a lot of the time when we're having a conversation, you'll say something and that'll trigger something in my mind, and I just have this clear picture in my head. It's normally only with you that it happens. I can't think of many other times that it's happened.
We do push the limits on like ideas.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I mean, I'd have to agree. There's probably very few times that I'm pushed to think about something so much that my brain like squeezes out new ideas, or I have like epiphanies of like just ideas exploding in my mind. I need a nap.
Brain pop a little.
Yeah, no, it's. I need to do more of that. I need to practice exploding my mind. So maybe we should climb on rooftops, hang out with the neighbors a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because that was insane. That was like just, it was like that. Those like getting those visions, but it was like an open channel.
Right.
It was just ideas, vision. Just, and I'm not saying that it's right. Like I don't think from centuries of grandmothers watering their garden, Mexicans just inherited this power to paint cars. Like that's obviously just interesting. But that's what came to me. So I mean, like, you know, that's funny. That's what comedians are all about. Like taking their real life and then arranging their experience together in a way they can present it that it makes everyone laugh.
Yeah, yeah.
So during this time, I've got a phone call, and Joanna rang me to ask me how I was going and what I was doing. Yeah. Check, you know, what good wives do. Check up on you to make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do, right?
Good babysitters, is that what you said?
I do call her baby mommy. That's not related.
Oy, mamacita.
All that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had a conversation, and I was trying to be cool. Like at this point, I know that my mind is like, I'm trying to focus on the conversation, and water in the garden, everything's good. And at this point, she's like, before you leave the house, don't forget to check the fridge.
Right.
And I mean, in that, she was like, just check the whole house, take whatever you want, like food-wise, you know what I mean? Because my mother-in-law never eats at home. Like she's always out at work, or she teaches like at 2 high schools or whatever. So it was like, cool, all right. So I'm looking for chocolate. That was like mission 1. Yeah, I found 2 boxes of the chocolate abuelita.
Yep.
Yeah, I was like, it's drinking chocolate.
Nestle brand.
Yeah.
Table chocolate. Yeah.
Yep. That's the one. Good on Nestle. Yeah, it's like, usually they make it for like drinking, or you melt it in with your mole. You know, it's like cooking chocolate. Yeah. I looked at it and I was like tempted. I need, but I already know I got 3 in my house. Like I never ran out of chocolate abuelita. That's loaded. I was tempted to pinch one, but I didn't. I left them there because I thought if it was my chocolate, I count the bricks. I count the slabs, make sure no one's taking my stash.
Yeah.
So that's all down. And I thought, okay, the cupboards are done. Then I looked to the fridge. Like I kept cool with Joanna, and I said, okay, cool, I'm checking the cupboards, I'll grab whatever. But in the moment that I was about to open the fridge, it was like normal day, I go to open the fridge, and I just felt like I shrunk into like a 5-year-old, 7, 10-year-old Aaron. Like I was a kid again. I was a kid again. I was just super excited. Like I could have started jumping on the spot with excitement that I'm opening a fridge. Think about it. I'm about to open a fridge that's not mine.
Yeah.
And understanding the concept of multiverse, infinite universe, unlimited possibility. This fridge could have had anything I wanted.
Anything in the world.
So I was pretty pumped. I took a moment to focus on like what I wish there to be, what could there be.
Yep.
I couldn't even imagined what I could find. What I did find was so far beyond my imagination.
You found Zell from Ghostbusters. The scene where Sigourney Weaver opens
with the fire and the
there's like this giant
hell.
There's hell inside the fridge.
What's his name called?
Zool, I think.
Zool.
I am Zool. Yeah, that sort of thing.
No, it was much nicer and more exciting than that.
Okay.
I'm still pretty pumped. Like I'm about to open the fridge and I'm thinking like, okay, there's got to be like, you know, I would have settled with some yogurt, even just like some crappy yogurt. maybe a Yakult. Like I'm thinking of what could be in there. Yeah, pretty much anything like that.
Yeah.
Just like a normal, like a snack pack, something I could have loaded up. You know, a bag of grapes.
Yep.
Like anything I could have. I was.
But it wouldn't have been all rotten. Any of those things would have
Well,
been, would have been off, right?
She would have only been away for like maybe a week. So I'm thinking maybe yogurt. And even if yogurt goes off, sometimes it's got like it's thicker. It's like it's better. Like you even like.
Sure.
Anyway, so you know, but I'm using my imagination.
Yeah.
Like I could have settled for like anything. I just wanted a snack at that point.
Yeah.
There was nothing.
Okay.
There was. I mean, what I found was more exciting, but there was nothing in there that I could eat. Like, I opened it up and it was like a boring old fridge. There was nothing. There was like a few vegetables down the bottom, some potatoes, a couple carrots in there. Like, you know, the normal stuff, like, you know, half a bowl of milk. I don't know. It was just normal stuff. Nothing exciting. And then, you know, because I've been got this higher level of like, now I need to serve the world and I need to do good. So I thought, you know what, I'll give the fridge a quick clean. You know, so I could see there was a few tomatoes there that were all shriveled up. I thought, well, there's no need for these. Just chucking a few things out.
Yep.
And there was a big pot right in the middle, about this big. I couldn't quite see what was in it because it was kind of like it was frosted on the top glass. But what it was something so alien, new. I'll try to explain what it was. I put my hands in, and as they got maybe like an inch or 2 inches within grabbing the handles, I just felt like the fridge was cold. But in the realm of this pot was something more than that. It was like interdimensional coldness. It was cold like normal, but it had like a different feeling. It was like a dry cold, like a really dry cold. And as I picked up the pot, I could feel purple.
Of course.
Yeah, like it was. I knew that. Nothing looked purple. There was no smell. There was nothing. As my hands went into the dry cold, I could only associate that with like the color purple. It's like that feeling came over my whole body. So I'm holding this thing. I lift it up, and I can just smell this. It was dead. Like it wasn't like off. It was death.
Yeah.
It was dead, and
Purple death.
I explained it like if you can imagine like seeing a unicorn run down the street with a rainbow at its tail.
Yeah.
Right? Like a nice, perfect, like, you know, normal street out the front here, a unicorn run past with like this rainbow trail of magic. And then in that very moment, the car from Mad Max, the Interceptor, comes around the corner and runs it over. Like that level of emotion of like wonderful, dead. Like the Hare Krishna's higher taste of divinity has been shot down. Like this was a wonderful
Right. You just
soup.
saw like take a big beautiful curry and then piss in it.
Dumping it.
Right.
Yeah, but that's the smell. Like it was dead, but it wasn't like intrusive like dead. It was just horrible.
Right.
Like the smell wasn't horrible. It just made you feel horrible, like something really devastating just happened here. Like this much food.
You felt a great disturbance in the fridge.
In my hands, in the pot. The smell, like I had to keep smelling it. Meanwhile, like I'm feeling like I'm a little kid. So it was like, maybe it was all the anticipation of the fridge being magic and then all of a sudden nothing being there.
Yeah.
And then finding this big dirty pot of like rotten, it wasn't really, it was only like a little bit left of like some kind of vegetable soup that was left over.
Yeah.
Like in my whole life, like I'm 30 years old and I've never smelt anything, no, I didn't taste it. I put the pot inside the sink, like where you wash up. But I put it in there, and I'm looking at it, and it's like I had to smell it. Like I've already smelled it a couple of times. I walked so carefully because I knew that it was unstable. Like the lid's rocking. I'm walking with it slow.
The beast is trying to get out.
It's got a different feel of cold. It's like purple. I'm feeling like if I walk far, like I wasn't gonna drop it. Like I got steady hands. Like I got good motor, movement, control.
Yep.
Except I was concerned that the smell that this thing was making, it was going to tear time, and I was going to walk through a dimension. Or if I dropped it, it would have just created like his wormhole in the floor. Yeah. Like it was unbelievable. I can't tell you what it tastes like. Like my nose.
The taste in your nose was unbelievable.
Well, isn't taste and smell the same thing? Like it was getting in me.
Taste is like 90% smell. Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's in the sink. Save mission complete. It's in the sink, and I'm like, what am I going to do with this thing? Like, I had no desire to even like wash the pot up. Like, I didn't want to do anything. I was going to leave it there. I was like, oh shit, I can't. Can you imagine that? Like, it's only going to smell worse. It's going to stink the whole house out. My mother-in-law's going to come back and look at Aaron, prick, leaves shit in my sink. Yeah. Literally, this thing was out of control. So I got to wash it.
Leaves a big Cleveland steamer in the sink.
That doesn't sound like me. I wouldn't do that. I pull the lid off.
Yeah.
I pull the lid off, and the smell, like it wasn't bad. It was just interesting, and it was in my face. It was tangy, fruity, like kind of like a well-spiced bun. Mm. Like it was almost sweet. Like I didn't know what it was. It was like every smell fermented. At the same time. Yeah, it was fermented. Yeah. It had like it was like white cream on top. I couldn't see because of the glass lid. It had like little white specks on it. I'm checking out this like I'm smelling it. It's like I want to know what this smell is. Like I've never smelled it before. All I know that it was purple, and at that point I'm looking at it and I'm thinking I've got to eat this. Like it was so interesting. It was just I realized that it was like my childhood desire.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, when kids find like a dead bird in the park. It's like, it's filthy, it's rotten, it's like a dead bird, but you have to poke it.
Yeah.
Got to check what's in that. I had to taste it. I was telling Benny this story, and Benny's like, you ate it? You ate it? No, I didn't. It was filthy.
I ate it, and now I'm Spider-Man.
Actually, you know what? If I had more time, maybe I would have put a little spoon in there. Maybe I would have eaten it, but something...
At least, you know, see what's below the surface of the white.
Oh, no, I checked below I checked below. And
you saw like an eye poking out.
No, it was just like
clear. An eye on the end of a tentacle.
Yeah, there was a life. He had life. The smell was so interesting. Like I wanted to taste it, but part of me knew that it wouldn't have tasted bad. It's like the inner child knew this. It can't taste bad. It's like being an explorer. It's like you have to like if you're the person to discover a brand new color that you've never seen before, wouldn't you want to name it something cool? But you first have to see it. In this case, you have to taste it to name what. Like you ever tasted like, remember that soup Aaron found in the fridge? That's what it tasted like. You know, I could have named my whole new taste.
Yeah, but pulque mixed with the yogurt, mixed with rotten cabbage.
But the thing was, when I put water in there, it was just like perfectly chunks of like potato and carrot, and it looked completely normal. I think it was just a layer. It was a layer on top. Like you could have probably cut the layer off. Have you ever seen like, have you ever cooked up like frijoles and left some of the water in the frijoles?
Sure.
And then it creates like a white, and leave it out, so that, not in the fridge, but leave it out on the stove to cool down and let it sit all day. You ever done that?
Yeah, especially like when I first soak the beans. If I don't soak them overnight, you get the water boiling, and then you let it cool down, and it's like a quick soak method. And especially with, I know what you're talking about, like with garbanzos, with chickpeas, it gets a really thick froth at the top.
Yes, that.
You're supposed to remove it because it's got the bad sugars in it, some kind of saccharide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep.
That foamy, frothy sort of, it's usually not very thick, but you remove it and then you can like reboil the beans and then mash them up or whatever you want.
Yep.
I found this layer, and I felt like it was a layer of that, but turned into like a thin layer of white yogurt. I think that's what I was smelling. That's what I was experiencing.
vegetable yogurt.
I thought I could. I mean, in hindsight, I wouldn't have eaten it, but something was telling me, forget the taste or whatever, all that, or the smell, the filthiness of it.
The interdimensional porthole that it left on the
Well,
carpet.
That's something told me to eat it anyway. And I feel like if I did, I could have had a super psychedelic trip.
Yeah, I bet.
Like I feel like the state of mind that I was in was telling me to eat it because they knew that I would enjoy it. The higher Aaron at that point knew that would have been like pure medication.
So this is like when people ask shamans in the Amazon, how did you know to take this plant and boil it with this plant and mix it with that plant to make ayahuasca? And they say, the plants told us.
The pot told me. The pot told me.
The pot told you, all right. The pot definitely told you.
The pot told me to eat the cream. And I didn't. Because I had to go. I had like half an hour to catch a bus back home.
Yeah.
I didn't want to put myself through that.
You didn't want to be vomiting spiritual vomit all over the bus and everything.
Can you imagine what the homework I could have done for the podcast?
Yeah.
I agree. That's how the shamans knew.
Yeah.
It's like you just know. It's beyond a vision. You feel what it is.
A compulsion.
Well, the thing was...
Come to me, come into the fridge.
Well, I think that's why the Bible talks about returning to being like we need to return to the state of a child. Obviously, like just pure experience.
Yeah.
And that way we just trust our intuition and everything would be cool.
Yeah, well, I've heard people say that you can look at a child, like a 5-year-old child, and walking around a supermarket or a shopping center, and it's like watching someone on mushrooms, because they're like, their eyes are like popping out, what bright, huge pupils, like, holy shit, look at this stuff. I've never experienced this before in my life. And it's like they're literally on a trip. They're having all of these new experiences.
I never thought about it like that.
And it makes me wonder too, because have you ever had the experience, like someone you've known for years, but then one day you actually look at their face and you notice their face is completely different to how you actually were thinking about it. You see all these intricacies that you never saw before. Looking with fresh eyes, and that's what children do.
I've been looking at your face for a while recently.
Oh, so, thank you.
Yeah, that's
Thanks,
out.
handsome.
The thing is, with this, because I can't explain the purple sensation, the fact that it was just this dry cold, the fact that I knew that I needed to eat it. Like I was supposed to, and I didn't. It's like I wimped out.
You missed the date with destiny.
The thing was,
it's a sad story.
This weed was so good that I was high well into the night. This never happened before.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I haven't smoked in months.
Yeah.
I just don't smoke.
Yeah.
And it was like 2 simple drags on a rooftop on a beautiful day, and it was like all afternoon, nearly all night. The thing that surprised me was, at home, I don't normally have soft drink. Like I just don't have soft drink in my house. And I found there was like half a bottle of Coke in the fridge that was there from like Christmas party or gathering we had over. And it was, Coke and brandy, right, as you do for your Christmas. As I reached I just had this inclination, like I'm a kid. So I was like, forget the diet, forget what I'm supposed to be doing, gym-wise, like I'm eating and whatever. I get home, open the fridge, big day, need to relax. Like my mind was like flying. I opened the fridge and I saw the Coke there. I'm like, you know what? Actually, now I remember. Because I was worried I'd getting home.
Yeah.
Because I knew that the whole bus experience was like, whoa. It's like I'm seeing too much. I'm seeing like people come home from work. We're all cruising home on the bus. This is after I packed everything up. And I just wanted to get home. Like I was done with the day. It was a big day. Like I experienced too much had to clean up that pot and everything. It was a big day. Yeah, I know. I finally...
Aaron's big Mexican day.
It was a big day. Just catching the bus, because I mean, I haven't told the whole story, but I'm carrying this bag of dirt with me because I just had no place. Like after I cleaned the garden up, I had a bag of dirt, and I was like, you know what, worm farm at home. Better take the dirt back.
Sweet.
So I'm on the bus, and I'm wearing my nice pants, so they're all dirty. I don't know how it happened. I got black shit all over my pants. Got no idea how that happened. So I'm carrying this bag of dirt. People are looking at me funny. Maybe I'm reflecting that. I'm on the bus home, and I'm thinking, what do I do now? And lately we've been put on iTunes.
Yeah.
So I started listening to myself on the way home talk about morphic fields and shit. And I was like, this isn't... The first 5 minutes, I was like, what am I talking about? I don't know nothing about morphic fields. Like, I'm just exploring this stuff. Like, who's this guy? What's he talking about? This is me thinking as myself. Within 5 minutes, I forgot that I'm listening to myself. And you know how you hear yourself and it's never really exactly... You don't recognize your own voice?
Yeah.
I forgot I was listening to myself talk. And it was our podcast. And at first, because I like listening to podcasts, I just put the podcast on so I could listen to like another podcast. Of course not listen to myself. But our podcast started playing. So I got wrapped into it. I started listening to where we're going. And because my memory wasn't exactly linked to what we were talking about at the time, I just started going along with my mind just started going along with the topic. And I started thinking, I could see that our version of our podcast at that time was a different fractal, a completely different, like the Aaron that was listening to the podcast at that moment was a different Aaron to the person that interacts on this podcast. Like a different universe. Because the flow of his mind was so different to the flow of my mind at that point. I thought I'd throw that in there. Yeah. But getting home, Joanna wasn't home yet. She was still coming home from work. So I was like, you know what? I'm enjoying this little trip. I'm going to make myself a brandy and Coke. As I picked up the bottle of Coke, it had exactly the same dry, cold, purple feeling.
Right. So you throw it away.
No, I drank it.
Did you trip out?
No, I didn't. I didn't trip out. I didn't. Nothing like that happened. But it was just weird. It was weird that it had the same feeling.
Yeah.
Like, but I'm the same color, like the same purple. Like I've never experienced that before. But Coke and rotten shit soup is exactly the same shit. You
heard it first. Filthy. It's scientific evidence.
I went there.
Yeah.
It happened last week. It's real.
All right. Yeah, I guess we're about out of time there.
We'll wrap it on that.
Cool. That was a cool story. Cool. My name's Kurt Robinson.
Aaron Battle.
Press like, leave us a comment, tell us a crazy story about feeling the color purple in your mother-in-law's fridge. And
hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah. Subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on iTunes, and follow us on Twitter. Ask a question on Twitter.
Send them through because
at Trouble Bubble.
Content's good at Battle AZ.
Yep. Cool. All right. Peace. Peace.